Okay, hey you guys, hopefully this works out well. I can't talk too loud. The kids are sleeping, so I have my microphone all the way up though, and the volume looks good. So if you can't hear me, just write it in the chat or comment on the video, and I'll just have to re-record. That's fine. But I'm not going to talk much louder than this because then babies need to sleep. But I did get off the third video in the series, the Islam and Zoroastrianism and the similarities and perhaps what pulled from the other, a little bit early on Saturday or Sunday, one of those days. So I wanted to come back and give you guys the part two because the eschatology within Islam pulls directly from the Vedic text for Zoroastrians, and I think that that's something that should be definitely discussed. And so I wanted to actually show you guys. Hopefully, y'all can hear me. Just put in the chat if you can't hear me. But I did want to pull that up on my screen and read it for you guys. So where we left off, I was talking about the similarities, heaven, hell, paradise, paradise, like the language. Obviously, modern day Iran is ancient Persia. And I gave the backdrop in the history like I did with Judean people or Judaism, and the Christians, the Byzantines, etc., which again probably would have just pulled directly from the Judean people. So I gave the backdrop of how these two communities even came into contact with each other. There is more of a direct contact with the Muslim Arabs in the region than with any other, I would say, with any other two groups. So you obviously had, again, within the Judean times, within the Judean exile, you had the Babylonian exile. So with that, there was direct contact, but it wasn't necessarily one of those where you're learning and you're being trained and encouraged to even convert. With the contact in the region of, again, ancient Persia, modern day Iran, you had direct, and again, I'm not talking about whether it's right or wrong within Islamic jurisprudence. I'm just saying this is historically what we know happened. There was pressure to convert sometimes, some of the people in the region of Iran or ancient Persia. And so you had the demis, the taxes, all of that, and you did have this pressure to sort of learn and grow. And hold on one second, because there's a lot of background noise, so I'm going to try to eliminate a little bit of that. So just give me a second, guys. Okay, so got rid of some of that background noise. So hopefully that is a little bit helpful. But I took you guys through the history of the direct contact, just historically in the region. And so I got into a little bit of wudu and how in Islam it's wudu and ablution, basically just the washing of yourself. Of course, in Judaism, we wash one hand 3 times, the other hand 3 times. But we're not like washing our nose. There's not the swishing of the mouth. There's not the cleaning of the ears. It's not up to the elbow, and it's not the feet up, to the ankles and things like that. And there's not this idea of like keeping your wudu, or if you do certain things and you have to complete ghusl, which is like a full ritual washing. We don't have that within Judaism or Christianity for that matter. I think that's right. Sometimes I say within Christianity, and then I remember that there's 60,000 denominations just in the West within Protestantism. And I have to like think through all of the ones that I know of. They don't have that type of ritual washing. At least we don't see that in ancient literature. And so with that being said, within Islam, we see that similar washing that Zoroastrians have. I talked about the praying 5 times a day. So you guys can go back and watch that video and see those similarities. But I did want to focus this one just on the eschatology of it all, because I found that very interesting. And so I'm reading here. I will share my screen. I did this before, so let's hope I can do it again. Hopefully you guys are able to comment. I'm still getting used to the StreamYard thing. Y'all know I'm not a big like live girl, but child, the way my life is set up right now, this is a lot easier. So okay, share. Okay, so you guys can share my screen here. You can see my screen. I'm on Sage Journals. I pulled up this article, The Zoroastrian Provenance of Some Islamic Eschatological Doctrines. And I don't have my glasses on, so if you see me squinting, that is why. A lot of the information, not a lot, but a good amount of information I brought out in the first video. Some of it's from here, some of it's from the sources cited here. I went and pulled those. And then if we scroll down to this section, I will just, let's see. Okay, the Bridge of Judgment. So both Islam and Zoroastrians have this idea of this figure coming back in the end times, Al-Mahdi, or basically the Messiah. There's a Messiah coming back who's going to be the beacon of good and destroy all of the bad. Judaism has this, Christianity has this, so all 4 share in this. So obviously we're just going to pick up on that. Christianity, Islam, and Zoroastrianism have the whole heaven or hell or paradise or hell concept in common. I would say Islam goes back to more of the purity of the Zoroastrians, where they talk about it as paradise, not necessarily heaven the way Christianity sees heaven, with like angel babies with wings and floating on clouds for the rest of eternity. That's just not really the picture. There's this idea of a paradise, but you're like, conscious in a person and doing things. So this right here says the Bridge of Judgment. Another example of the influence of Zoroastrian eschatological beliefs on Islam is the Zoroastrian idea that all human beings, whether righteous or wicked, should cross a bridge entitled Shinvat before arriving in paradise or hell. The concept of the Shinvat bridge is one of the oldest eschatological themes of Zoroastrianism and is mentioned in the Gathas and Avesta. According to Yasna, 1906, 7116. So I don't have those texts on hand. And pulling it up with PDF was making my computer angry, so I don't have those to look up. But I'm showing you guys this, that you guys can go look up this information and cite these sources on your own. Venedad 13:3, 1930, and Vishtasp Yasht 24:42. The souls of the departed should pass the Shinvat, a dividing line or bridge created by Mazda, before reaching heaven or hell. The Shinvat spans the abyss of hell and leads to paradise on the other side. The righteous, we are told, successfully pass the Shinvat and reach the holy world, the excellent world, or the world of paradise. The wicked, on the other hand, are unable to cross it and fall into hell. Venedad 18:7. In his journey to heaven, the priest of the 3rd century Qadir states that the Shinvat bridge becomes wider for the righteous, enabling them successfully to pass over it. Okay, I just want to pause right here because this is a key difference between Zoroastrianism and Christianity, and Zoroastrianism and Islam, or Christianity and Islam. Zoroastrianism, as we see right here, teaches that, or at least one of the priests, teaches that this bridge becomes wider for the righteous. Now, what does Christ say in the text of the Gospels? It talks about enter through the narrow way, right? The way is narrow and few ever find it. So it's like, it's this very narrow road. The gates are not going to open for everybody. It ain't going to get no easier for the righteous. It's going to be hard as hell until you make it past hell, basically. Here it's teaching somewhat of the opposite in a sense, that this bridge is going to become wider for the righteous, helping them, right? Enabling them successfully to pass over it. Okay. A wooden beam. I'm right here. If you guys don't know where I'm at, can I zoom? Let me highlight. Okay, yeah. A wooden beam goes over that hell, like a bridge. That bridge is becoming wider and is now greater in width than in length. Now they have crossed the bridge over to the other side, which is excellent and beautiful. Kadir also speaks of the bridge functioning like a razor blade. Later, Pahlavi texts provide detailed accounts of the Shinvat Bridge, especially with respect to its location and length. But some of the ideas mentioned in these texts are already pointed out in the Avesta and in Kadir's inscriptions. Like earlier Zoroastrian scriptures, the Pahlavi text state that hell is below the bridge and that the bridge becomes wide for the righteous in order for them to easily pass over it. In particular, the Destin e Minog Grad 21:5 states that the Shinvat becomes a narrow bridge for the wicked, even unto a resemblance to the edge of a razor. So it's narrow for the wicked. This is so different from what the narrative that we hear in Christianity from the Gospels. Anyway, a statement that echoes the Kadir's inscriptions. Likewise, the Buddhism 30:25 maintains that the bridge becomes a sharp blade and does not give passage to the wicked souls, and thus, after taking only 3 steps forward, they fall headlong down to hell. So then it gets into the Islamic text, and it says Islamic texts too refer to a bridge called sirat, over which each person, including the prophets, should cross before they can be admitted into heaven or hell. Although the Quran uses the term sirat, literally meaning the path or way, especially in reference to the straight path, sirat al-mustaqim is also used in an eschatological sense in one Quranic verse. So I'm going to look it up in this copy of the Quran. I will stop sharing for a brief second and just show you guys what I'm reading from again. That light is so bright. Oh my goodness, can you guys even see this? Okay, well, anyway, this is what I'm reading from. I don't know if I can get there you go. The Quran, Tarif Kilati. And again, it's not the Quran. You haven't read the Quran, any Muslim will tell you, until you've read it in Arabic. So it is just a translation of the meaning of the Quran. I do want to be respectful of that religion and make sure I say that. I'm really hoping you guys can hear me here. I'm going to fix this mic and bring it closer to me. Hopefully that may help. Okay, so I'm going to start sharing my screen again and show you guys that citation, and then we can continue to read. But I do just like to make sure I show you guys the source of what I'm reading, so you know I'm just not out here saying things. Okay, so it states Quran 37:22, so let's get there. And I will say a lot of my Muslim friends have said that this is one of the better translations, especially for someone new or wanting to learn or understand the meaning. So shout out to whoever did the translation, and you guys can pick it up. Okay, so I'll start on 21 because that's how mine's numbered. But it says, "They shall say, alas for us, this is the day of judgment. This indeed is the day of division, which you use to impunge. Heard them, those evildoers, together with their spouses and what they worshipped instead of God, and guide them on the path to hell." So that's that sirat, sirat al-mustaqim. "Seize them, for they are accountable. What is the matter with you? Why are you not helping each other? Oh, but today they are in total surrender." And it goes on to talk about the end times and that day. I don't necessarily want to get into all of that, but it does go on if you guys want to finish reading the eschatology described there. Okay, so the Hadith literature describes the Sirat in detail. Here, Muhammad is quoted as having said that everyone should cross over the Sirat before he reaches paradise or hell. As in the Zoroastrian account, it is said that the saved pass over the bridge more easily. Again, I want to pause because this is a very different. I'm going to pause real quick, guys, because we need to just make sure that. Okay. I don't want to wake up the babies. Okay, it says, as in the Zoroastrian account, it is said that the saved pass over the bridge more easily. So I do think it's important to pause right there because it is a vastly, vastly different narrative than we read in the Bible, in the text of the Bible. And I think, here, I'll bring it up. Why not? Why not? You guys can watch me Google all the fun things. How do I shoot? Okay, hold on. Let me do it this way. This might be a little bit easier. Okay. I'm still figuring this out, how to go back and forth between screens, guys. It's just a lot sometimes. Oh, I picked the wrong screen. Oh, well. Okay. So that's Matthew 7:13. Of course, you'll find it translated very differently and cross-referenced, but essentially that is a passage where it states, "Enter by the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the way is easy that leads to destruction. And those who enter by it are many." So in the Bible and Christianity, the teaching is that the way to heaven is very narrow, and few people ever find it, right? And that the way that is for people who are going to be destroyed in hell, right? Are like, that's the way that's wide and that's the easy way, and it leads to destruction. And so I wanted to just pause because as we're reading this, I think it's easy to get sucked into just the details that we're looking at, as opposed to thinking about it in the wider scope between the three Abrahamic religions. So to continue, where was I? Okay. Although the Quran uses the term Sirat, literally meaning the path or the way, especially in reference to the straight path, Sirat al-Mustaqim, it is also used in an eschatological sense in one Quranic verse. So that's the verse that I read. So it says, as in the Zoroastrian account, it is said that the saved pass over the bridge more easily, finally reaching the other side, while the damned will fail to cross over it and fall down to hell. These hadiths often maintain that the Sirat is laid across hell. And then you can look at the various hadith. So Bukhari, Hajjaj, books 1, volume 8. So it gives all the sources there. Therefore, the Sirat has the same function as the Shinbat, since both are described as a path to heaven or hell. Both the Islamic and Zoroastrian accounts explored above also stress an inescapable descent of the damned into hell. Christianity obviously teaches the same thing. Further, like the accounts provided by Qadir and the Pahlavi text, the Sirat's described in the Hadith literature as thinner than the hair and sharper than the sword. Later Muslim theologians and eschatologists, such as Al-Ghazali, Al-Suyut, and the author or compiler of Daqiq al-Akbar, provide a similar description of the Sirat, through occasionally with the additional detail that the Sirat becomes darker than night for the damned. So again, we have these themes of darkness. They're so similar. It's so fascinating to me. Okay. Moreover, there are some accounts found in both Islamic and Zoroastrian texts which imply that the more pious one is, the less suffering one has to bear on the bridge. Okay, so again, I want to pause here. So this is, again, unique to Islam and Zoroastrianism. Judaism tunics, it really just depends. You have the Zohar, you have the Kabbalah, the Kabbalistic texts that teach something different, especially when they're dealing with more esoteric nature things, as they do. Who teach something similar, but Christianity is unique in this, where they teach that the more pious you are, the more suffering you will endure to follow like that in the steps of Jesus, right? And then all of the apostles, after that, the disciples, the apostles, and then the faithful after that would follow. So it's a complete flip on the head with Islam and Zoroastrianism. And again, Zoroastrianism predates Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. However, like I said, Islam really goes back to these roots of Zoroastrianism, which again, we cannot be surprised, since those who are the founders of Islam had direct contact with native Zoroastrians in their land, not just contact, but went on whole crusades, conquest, and conquered that land. Again, ancient Persia is modern day Iran around the year of 636 AD. Which we brought out in that first video. So to continue, here the similarities between the descriptions in Zoroastrian and Islamic texts give very strong reasons to conclude that the latter have borrowed many features of the former. Other similarities can be found too. Notes that, like Surash, who with the Atar to Zoroastrian angels guides the souls of the pious, again Zoroastrians, across the Shinvat bridge. Gabriel, so the angel Gabriel, the same angel that's in the other three Abrahamic religions, keeps the Muslim from falling into the pit of hell. Within Christianity, there is a discussion. It depends on if you are Roman Catholic, if you are Eastern Orthodox, if you are Oriental Orthodox, or if you're Protestant, what you believe happens to you upon death. In non-Protestant traditions, it would be the angel Gabriel and or the angel Michael, who would be doing this sort of work of carrying your soul elsewhere or guarding the soul. And you see that in the accounts, a couple extra biblical texts especially, but you do see hints of that, at least in the book of Jude. Okay, it says certain accounts in both Zoroastrian and Islamic texts, however, hold that the Zarathustra and Muhammad lead the saved members of the Zoroastrian and the Muslim communities respectfully to pass over the bridge. Okay, so now I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I don't confuse you guys. Oh, there's a comment here. My bad. Baruch Evan Ezra, are you no longer religious? If you go back and you watch my video that I did maybe like two months ago, where I was like, "Hey guys, I'm alive," I popped back up again. I'm not observant anymore. I just, like I said, and you'll see in that video, but I had to take a long look at my life and the beliefs that I was living under, and really say, are these beliefs serving me? How have these beliefs served me? What actions and what choices and decisions have I made strictly because of these beliefs? Like, I'm only choosing this or doing this because I believe this way, or because I think I have to believe this way, and then looking at the outcomes of those choices, actions, beliefs, situations, etc. And I just had to make some common sense decisions and say, hey, like, this is not, it's just not serving you, at least not the way that you're believing in these things. And like I said in that video, and if you follow this channel over the 5 or 7 years that I've had it, I've never been a person where I'm going to read something into the text that's not there. So if that text is saying X, Y, and Z, it is saying X, Y, and Z. I'm not going to go and put X.1, X.2, X.3 there because that's what I think and that's what I believe, that's how we get from X to Y to Z. I'm just going to deal with what the text says. And so when I do that, it's not been beneficial. So, spiritually inclined, of course, always interested in comparative religion, of course, always. I'm just a nerd. I'd like to read that kind of thing. I like to discuss that kind of thing. But am I observant? No. No, I'm not. So hopefully that answers your question. But yeah, to go back onto the topic of the Zoroastrian and the Islamic text, like I said, there's so much more to be dove into here. I showed you guys that article. So if you go back and you read that article for yourself, it's probably going to take you a couple hours to get through. It certainly took me about, I don't know, I had to look at it on and off, but it was about 2.5 hours just to get through everything. Of course, again, when I see citations, I go back and I look those citations up often if I have it at my fingertips. You guys can see that there's books here. So some of those things I do have, a lot of them I don't. But some of them I do, so I try to look those up so I have a better understanding of those comparisons. But essentially, Islamic eschatology is pulling directly from Zoroastrian eschatology. And I'm not saying that to be, I think some people make these types of videos and they're like, aha, your religion is fake. This is why you're wrong because they said it over here first. That's not the way my brain thinks. I think in terms of truth is universal. Truth has been around since the creation of all of this, all of matter. And it's up to human beings as we go on this journey to discover what the truth is. So if someone said, hey, the sky is blue 50,000 damn years ago, because I can look up and see the sky is blue now, or I can see that written on a forecast today, I'm not going to say that, hey, that's not true, or it's plagiarized, or it's stolen. It's just the truth. So it's been around, and you're going to see the echoes of it elsewhere. Of course, again, that doesn't, because something was said a long time ago, does not mean that it's an absolute truth. I'm just bringing out information because I do think that what has happened to Zoroastrians is sad. I think that most people have never even heard of that religion, and it's just funny to me. Funny is a bad word, but it's interesting to me that all three major Abrahamic religions, two of those being global major religions, right? Islam is the fastest growing religion and Christianity is the largest religion, pulls so heavily and directly from Zoroastrianism, and yet we are highly uneducated as to where a lot of these things are coming from. Also, I know because Islam is in the title, and I've had Islamic videos on this channel before, and I know the kind of comments I get on those videos. I do also want to add in that if you go just right here on YouTube and you search Zoroastrianism and Islam similarities, you'll see that most sheikhs, most imams don't have a problem with admitting like we have a lot of things in common with Zoroastrianism. We've borrowed a lot of things, big whoop, big deal. It's not a problem for us. The Quran doesn't name every single prophet, just the major ones. And of course, Zoroaster and Zoroaster, of course, they're prophets, big deal. And so it's really not a big deal from the clergy aspect of Islam, more so than I think the adherents and the faithful, and in my opinion, because I did post on Instagram and there were quite a few of my Muslim friends and followers who kind of commented and was like, girl, leave us out of this. Like, Islam is unique, et cetera, et cetera. And I respect that. And, this is why. And your clergy also says it's okay. So before y'all come for me in the comments, just know that I did do the research to look at the religious authorities and what they had to say. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Leave those comments. Let me know what you think. I did see a comment from the other video that linked me to a video that someone said I should watch. I haven't watched it. I'm sorry. I am so busy, y'all. Like, I work and then I'd be doing basketball, or I'm like hanging out with my kid. And so anyway, I don't always get to read every single thing, but you guys know I try to answer every comment if I can in a timely manner so as not to be rude. And like I said, I'm trying to get back to being more consistent with these videos, but I just cannot promise that because I'm so busy. So yeah, anyway, hopefully you guys like that. I will link when I post this and it goes on to YouTube all the way. I will link the article that I was reading from so that you guys can access that. Again, I think if you go through the video, you'll be able to see a lot of the citations and things. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this. Until next time, Emir to Hashem. Bye, y'all. And stream.